Hi, it's Dr. Kate with the Form, Function, and Flow Lab podcast. We did an episode on how to prevent tearing from the get-go in childbirth. And that would be ideal and great for everybody to just avoid that more serious grading of tearing. But that's not the case for everyone. And some people have already given birth, had an episiotomy, or a tear of some sort. So this episode is on what to do immediately postpartum if you've had a tear. And again, if you listen to that other podcast, there we go over the grading. So graded 1 through 4 in severity of tearing, or even if you have an episiotomy. So with type 2 and greater, we have the involvement of the musculature. So a little more serious, a little more intense. So if you have had a tear and you come home from the hospital and let's say you had an epidural, you had a catheter, you are still using adult diapers, maybe you have some incontinence issues right out of the gate, when you arrive home, that might be super distressing and cause a lot of anxiety and issues for a new mom on top of bringing home a new baby home from the hospital. But try not to panic, and it might only last for a day. And even if it goes on a little longer, you can rehab that, and it doesn't have to be a permanent thing. So right away, really, we don't want you to do much of anything right after you've returned home with your baby. And there's different time frames for different scenarios of giving birth. You know, if you have a home birth, you're obviously already home. If you had a birth center birth, like I did with my second child, I was allowed to leave within 4 hours of delivering from the birth center in Pittsburgh, which is nurse midwives and associated with hospitals as well. We left after 12 hours, or if you had a vaginal delivery from hospital, it's over a day until you get to come home. So you arrive home. If you had tearing, you're going to want to get a peri bottle. So that's that bottle that you squirt water to keep things rinsed and clean because you have an open wound down there. They give you a little bottle that has just like a nozzle on the end of it, so no neck to it. I suggest getting a peri bottle that has a neck on it that's angled back up. So when you use it, it's just way easier to use ergonomically, and it just helps to get the water in the vicinity that you need it without contorting all over the place. So first thing I would say is before you even go into labor, pack it in your hospital bag because it works so much better than the one that they give you at the hospital. It is definitely something I would recommend putting on your baby shower list. So we've got the angled peri bottle. Right after you have a baby, we don't want you working out right away. You're not ready to work out. So there's not like, if you're a type A doer, that kind of thing, your instinct is probably to be like, what can I do to fix this issue? If it's a tear that had to be repaired with stitches and that kind of thing, you can't do any type of massage to that area until it's healed, like the skin has healed and the incision or the tear has healed. So you can't jump right into that perineal massage until later. And really the only thing I start people with right away is just breathing. And that sounds like not enough to do for it, but truly it's going to help recalibrate your core and that relationship between your diaphragm and your pelvic floor. You want to think of the diaphragm as that top muscular lid to your core and the pelvic floor as the bottom, and they should reciprocate pressure. So as you inhale, we want to feel that diaphragm depress, and then the pelvic floor takes on some pressure. You exhale and it comes up, and then the pressure comes off the pelvic floor. When we're pregnant, our diaphragm is getting pushed up higher and higher and higher, and not able to get that good engagement like when we're not pregnant. And I'll have patients while they're pregnant do a lot of different breath work to try to encourage the diaphragm to keep doing its job as much as it can, even though it's lacking the space to do that. So once you finally have the room and your baby is out and here, that's the perfect time to slowly encourage the diaphragm to start doing the job that we really need it to do to help with our core function and waking up that system again, and our relationship to our pelvic floor. And you can try all different sorts of breathing. I do the kitchen sink breathing. We do teapot breathing, which something that I picked up from Sarah Duvall. She's a pelvic floor PT that has no great info. I'll have people do supine 90-90 breathing, a standard VNS kind of breathing, just all different kinds of breathing that you can do, because the brain likes novelty. So it's not one type of breathing exercise is going to fix everything. You should kind of sample all different types and mix it up so that you don't get used to one style. So really keeping it varied is important too. And the benefits, besides just the pelvic floor and the core engagement, is that I don't know about for everyone, but with postpartum, you have immediate postpartum, you have all these shifts. You have, your center of gravity changes, all your hormones are surging and all over the place, and it's really a good thing to try to downregulate our nervous system and switch from fight or flight mode to rest and restore. And breath work is excellent for trying to help regulate that. So the breath work helps on a variety of different levels. And if you have that anxiety of, oh my gosh, I'm incontinent, I'm never going to be able to go without a diaper or pad or something like that, it's just going to compound things. So the peribottle and the breath work are the two things to do immediately when you get home. And it's so easy to do, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. You can do it when you're laying in bed with the baby. You can do it right after nursing. It's super easy to incorporate to your routine. And it's something to be aware of before you have the baby, so that you just know, like, I'm going to do this no matter what afterwards when I have this baby. Now, once you can be more mobile, I would advise you not to push the be more mobile right away. That's why in my core to floor restoration program, the first 30-day phase does not involve strengthening right away. It's all breath work and mobility and releasing the pelvic floor and relaxing it and just letting it take a little break and kind of reconnecting. So no, in the core to floor restoration, there's no strengthening until that second phase. And I would say that's a kind of a good rule of thumb for the immediate postpartum too. And I would say, it's fine to walk around the house, walk with the baby, but to walk for exercise, like power walk or get out and get fresh air. Vitamin D is great, but get out to walk for exercise right away postpartum is really stressful, can be really stressful on your pelvic floor, and it might not be something you're ready to tolerate, even though we think, walking is so safe and easy to do. I would stick with simple mobility drills, the breath work, and some pelvic floor relaxation techniques. And that could be simple poses that I've done on social media and all those kind of things. I can link them below: puppy pose and pelvic unweighting, and some light abdominal massage after or before you do your breath work to help kind of connect to the core as you're about to embark on that. So I would be slow to even introduce that heavy amount of light walking, because that can be a little too intense as well. So if you feel like you have an incontinence issue or prolapse issue or anything like that, and you try to jump into walking right away, it might be too much. So just something to keep in mind. Another thing to add in, once your tear has healed, then it becomes very important to start to incorporate the perineal massage. So similar to what we talked about in the podcast with how to prepare to avoid tearing, now we're gonna, if we have a scar in that area, it's a scar like any other all over the body. So we're gonna want to slowly mobilize those areas. You can use your hands, you can use a tool like the Intimate Rose wand, or any type of self-massage wand, and that means like the S shape, so it's easier to access that area. Some people find it easy to lie on their back in the tub reclined, or you can have one foot up on a higher surface like the edge of the tub, so that you can reach into through the front or from behind, or on all fours. You just have to play around with how to access that area easier if you're doing it yourself, or if you're having your partner do it. And essentially, just like with any other scar, like with C-section scars we talk about, you want to first start indirectly, moving the skin around it. So moving the skin on either side to side, up and down, trying to get some nice movement of the different layers of tissue. And you want to think of, is it a layered cake? You want to think of motioning that most superficial layer, going a little deeper and a little deeper, and working our way slowly so our body has time to acclimate. And then once you're great with doing indirect massage, then you can rub right over the scar and try to get light mobilization there. Now, with the different grading of tearing, you can have tearing like within the vaginal wall, itself. So you're going to also try massage from within the vagina. So you would just insert your finger or the wand within that area and lightly mobilize, drawing towards your tailbone, towards your bone you sit on, and that kind of thing, and playing around with where you feel the restriction, where you feel the tension and the tightness. If you're going to use a lubricant, you want to keep it to a pH that is similar to your vagina, which we talked about in the other video. So I used to be a huge proponent of coconut oil because I thought, it has no other ingredients. It's organic. You can get it organic. Doesn't have any chemicals. How could you go wrong with that? But the pH is not the same as our vaginal flora and everything is usually. So it might not be our best bet. So I would look at the website of the different lubricants that you come across and make sure that they're a similar pH to your vagina. So coconut oil would be fine to use on the outside, but I wouldn't put it directly in your vagina especially if you have issues like different propensity to infections and that kind of thing. So something to think about when you're looking for a lubricant, and that would be in any realm. So for sex, scar massage, anything like that. And then if you're using a silicone tool to help with the massage, you don't want to use a silicone-based gel. You would want to use a water-based. So those are all some tips for that massage. Now that is like the most direct you can get when you are using your hands or the device right on the scar. Now we talked about indirect on either side of the scar. You can also do indirect with our Gorgeous Ball or a foam roller. Now the different diameters of foam rollers make a difference. So you have the really small foam roller you might have seen me use in videos. That's more direct because it sits right between the bones that we sit on, putting more pressure right on that perineum. If you use a standard size foam roller that is a little bit wider, that's not going to fit between the bones that you sit on, but it's still going to apply some pressure, so it's going to be a little less intense. Now with the Gorgeous Ball, you can have it, deflated, and that's going to be a little easier. You can sit on that and you're going to rock forward and back, side to side, do some pelvic tilts, anterior and posterior, and feel how that pressure shifting feels on your pelvic floor. If you wanted to increase the intensity with that ball, you would just inflate it a little bit more. It's going to add some more pressure. Those are great options to use as soon as that scar is healed. And the sooner you start, right after the scar is healed, the easier it's going to be to get that better suppleness of the area to return. So we've got the peri bottle and the breathing right out of the gate. Continue that breath work. Avoid overexerting yourself. And the other things that aren't exercise based when you're right out of having the baby that you want to focus on are really good nutrition, not starving yourself, and not even in a vain kind of way, but some people just forget to eat because they're so focused on their baby and it slips their mind and they take so much of their attention. Maybe they have another toddler running around. It is not unreasonable for someone to forget to keep himself nutritiously fed. And I don't mean just simple calories in, calories out. I mean enough protein, enough fat, enough nutrients in general. So keeping very highly, nourished and getting enough water, especially if you're nursing, and getting as much sleep as possible, which is laughable for some people that have babies that are not good sleepers. But the breath work, the nourishment, hydration, and sleep are pretty key. And helping with the breath work in that hand in hand with helping to downregulate your nervous system and try to help with that postpartum anxiety that some people might have or depression is important. And having a partner that is educated that all these things might and most likely will happen after at some level will happen after you deliver, so that they're not that they are looking for it and then they're not blindsided by some of these things. So we've got that right out of the gate. Then we have, after we've healed, we're still doing our breath work. We're doing that pelvic floor relaxation and working on our scars now. And then you can add in the strengthening, and that is going to be that thing that takes you to the next level so that you can start doing the activities you like and you love, like walking, running, cycling, without having any issue. Because until you start adding on that demand to the body, you're not going to be able to successfully move into those activities that you love without challenging your system a little bit and preparing it to take on those activities. So those would be my suggestions right out of the gate if you do have Terry. So being patient with yourself, which nobody likes to do, and slowly but surely returning to activity and not putting too much pressure on yourself. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I look forward to interviewing one of the makers of the wands that I talk about to help with your scar massage in the coming year. So if you have any questions on those kind of products or how else to use them or anything like that, let me know and I can ask her when I interview her. So have a great day.